Hello guys, it's me Epic here with another video. So if you read the title, this video is kind of different from what I usually do, which is mainly animations and update videos. In this video, I'm going to be sharing 7 animation tips that should help you improve at animation. So this isn't really a beginner guide. I'll link some videos in the description for that though. Now, I'm not the best animator in the Object Show community or in general, but I have been animating for like 4 years now, and I've been told by a lot of people that my animations are good, so I guess that's something you should keep in mind. There's also 2 things I want to say before I start. 1, this video is aimed at beginner and intermediate animators, so if you're around the advanced level, you probably might not get a lot out of this video. 2, this is aimed at people who use Adobe Animate since that's a program I personally use, but I'm pretty sure just to help people who use other software such as PowerPoint, Toon Boom, FlipaClip, Google Slides, heck, maybe even just Paper. So yeah, I just wanted to get that out of the way. Also, I just want to say that if you're starting to get into Adobe Animate, you should get the 2018 version. The 2019 version is also good too if you like the whole look of it, though the 2018 version is a lot less laggy for me and other people. Just make sure when you export stuff, turn on advanced layers. Anyway, let's start with tip number 7, which is to plan out the movements you want to do before you do them. I feel like this shouldn't even be a tip since it should be common sense and second nature, but just in case. What I mean by plan out the movements is that you should make sure you know what movements you want to do before you do them, by like using storyboards or even just use your head if you're like me. So by the time when you get to do the movement, you won't have to worry about getting stuck for a while or making the movement look really off and inconsistent. Tip number 6, try different eases. This tip is centered towards Adobe Animate users, so if you don't have it, you can skip to the next tip. So anyway, if you have Adobe Animate, you probably know what easing is, which is basically the speed of tweens. If you're a beginner, you're probably using the -100 and 100 ease, but I highly encourage you to use other eases like circ, court, and back. Eases don't always affect the quality of your animation, but it can make most movements look better. Tip number 5, practice. I'm pretty sure most of you guys expect this to be a tip, so I'll keep it short. If you don't get a scene for a few weeks, try doing an animation test or an anime sketch, so by the time you get your scene, you are prepared and not as rusty. Tip number 4, add smears to your animation. Smears are basically where in-betweens or the frame right before the pose or object makes a huge change, squash or stretches out a lot. Smears can really help your animation look more smooth and more realistic, which is something you should aim for when it comes to animation. Tip number 3, play things back. You guys should know this one too, but I see some people making animations without checking it for mistakes, so it just ends up looking really terrible. So I highly encourage you to check for mistakes after each movement you make, so when you're done animating, you don't have to do a lot of work, or so it doesn't look bad when you're done. There's also a thing in Flash where you can play your scene as an SWF file, so you can use that to check for movie clip errors and other stuff. I think it's really useful and I recommend using it. Okay, now to the second to last tip. Tip number 2, be patient. Quit trying to finish animations in 1 or 2 days if you know you can't finish them in that time. Animation is supposed to take time, so it hardly matters how fast you can animate, because if you're sacrificing the quality of your animation, it's going to be a problem. In animation, you shouldn't even cut corners just to get a scene done fast enough anyway. This tip also ties in with tip 3, 7, and a bit of 4. If you're animating a scene for another show, ask for assistance if you're allowed to and really need them. Before we get into the final tip, here's a bonus tip. This tip is also aimed at Flash animators, so if you don't animate in Flash, you can just skip this one. This tip can be helpful if you're doing tween-like animatic movements. I think some people might know this tip, but I'm pretty sure a huge portion of people don't, so I'm gonna share it anyway. So basically, if you don't want to do frame by frame, you could just do the movements by fully animating it with tweens of course. Then, highlight the whole movement, right click, put your cursor over frame by frame, and press keyframe each frame, and make it where there's 2 open frames by deleting each and every second keyframe. Now you got this. Okay, the final and probably most important tip, adjust things. What I mean by this is, try your very best to make your animation look as good as you want it to be. Meaning, don't just let tweens do all the work, and that you should fix things that don't look right. And that can mean rotating the torso motion, squishing or skewing the legs further, anything as long as it makes your animation look better. An example of adjusting things is that there can be times where you try to make a character do a follow through but it looks like a really terrible bounce back. That's because you didn't adjust the arm enough by moving it further. This tip can tie into tip number 4 and maybe tip number 2. I'm not saying not adjusting things will always make your animation look terrible, but if you use this with the 6 other tips, trust me, without a doubt your animation will look stunning 99% of the time. Okay, these are my tips on how you can improve your animation. If I ever said something that didn't make a lot of sense to you, ask me in the comments. Any other feedback will be appreciated as well, but that's all for me, so have a good one.